Hello, hello. How are you guys all doing today?
Hi.
Complete,
Sorry.
completely apologize of us
Oh
running
gosh.
behind, but it's okay. We'll still give you guys the advice and knowledge that you guys are looking for. So don't worry. I appreciate you guys bearing with us. Just had some technical difficulties on our side. So
Yeah.
yeah, thank you, thank you all so much.
Thank you guys.
How's everyone doing today, by the way? Just gonna get
Okay.
some, make sure everything's posted in here, and then we will get to it. And today
Do
we,
I just a quick question?
yeah,
Do
of
I see
course.
the chat as well, or can I?
Yeah, you can if you go on to
I
YouTube.
go.
Yep,
Yeah.
awesome.
Makes sense.
Yep,
Okay.
of course. Let's see. Let me pull it up as well. Hello, Molly. How are you doing? Oh, Molly said "Hola" part two, because she said she was saying hello in here earlier, and
I'm
I had
sorry.
to put her on it. It's okay. It is 100% okay. Let me just make a quick post to ours as well, and then we will get started because I know you guys have been waiting. So I promise we'll hop right on it. But thank you so
Yes.
much to everyone being patient. I really appreciate it. Um,
Thank you guys.
Molly said they finished a new painting last night and started to two more today. Oh, nice. What are you painting? And what type of stuff do you normally paint, Molly? What's your plans for the weekend, Nina?
Oh,
Any?
probably, probably finishing my new project.
Nice,
I
nice.
should. I should. So.
Well,
It was actually a Halloween piece. Like I wanted to release it on Halloween, but I just didn't make it. I was like, scrap that. I will
yeah,
post
yeah.
it in November when everyone's in the Christmas fever. So
Totally understand. Totally
yeah,
understand. No worries at all. Well, awesome. I guess, well, we can just get right into it, and then those who will join
sure,
will join. So maybe we can start with if you want to tell them who you are, a little background story on you, maybe how you
sure.
got into art, and yeah, we'll go from there.
All right. Yeah. So my name is Nina Vidra. I was like usually my last name was Nina Lijnwater. Many people know me like that, but I just got married like 2 months ago, so it changed. But yeah, my story is actually like right now I'm a concept artist working for mostly for games, but sometimes also for film. I am a freelance artist so far, and I've been working in the industry for around 4 years now, I think. I started off with going to a university called SAE. It's a university in Austria and Germany, and it focuses on mostly, you could do everything actually, like music and all that stuff, but it also has a game, like a thing where you can study games as well. It's let's say it's called game art, so you could imagine it's like everything that you need to know to create a game. So I had like to collect all the knowledge first to know what I'm gonna do after that. So I learned like all the basic modeling, 3D, 2D, engines, all that stuff. And after that, I went to like after that I finished. I finished like after 3 years, 2 years, I don't remember now. And after that, I got pregnant. I'm a mom of a 4-year-old son. And while being pregnant and the first year of having my baby, I started doing mentorships and building my portfolio. I was doing mostly CGMA mentorships, and I also did the Jalma Jurabov mentorship. I don't know if anyone knows it. It's the concept art for movies. And yeah, after that, I was fortunate enough to land my first gigs as a freelance concept artist. Then I worked for several clients, and now I have been working for more than 1.5 years, I think, for Character Studio in Berlin. Like I was working remotely from Vienna, but I have been working for them as a freelancer. And yeah, I worked on a AAA game, which was a lot of fun. And yeah, right now I'm actually like the project ended. Now I'm building my portfolio again, but I'm probably gonna start working like doing more freelance gigs now soon.
Yeah, and thank you for one explaining your story. Everyone always, I think, appreciates that, especially when they are upcoming artists themselves and hearing the process and journey. And you talked a little bit about school, and I would love to go
Yeah.
into that some, because a lot of people have that question of, is schooling right for me, or is just YouTube University better for me, and if they should go through courses like that instead. And I would love to hear your advice on both, and maybe like the pros and cons of the
Hmm.
two, and yeah,
Hmm.
maybe just talk about that.
Yeah, I think you could do actually both. Like both is totally fine. It really depends on what school. Like it. Firstly, it depends on what you're gonna do. Like talking especially about the concept art illustration type. I would say you could definitely learn it all with YouTube School, because there are so many tutorials out there. There are so many mentorships as well, like, where you don't have to go through years and years of education, but you also can have like 2 months mentorship or even 1 month mentorship. This is also really great, and it helps you get ahead a lot. So but yeah, there's the big but. It's if you go to a university or a school, like I needed that. It was important for me because at that time I was, how old was I? I was 19 or 20, and I needed to go somewhere because I was not disciplined enough to like get up in the morning, sit down, like study my, you know, at least 5 hours and just practice painting and all that stuff. I needed to go somewhere to have the teachers talk to me, reviewing my art, looking at my progress, telling me what I'm gonna do next. And this is like, it really depends on what type of person you are. Because to be honest, most of the stuff I know today, like everything you see in my portfolio today, comes from self disciplined learning. Um, I wouldn't need any school for this. But to say now, to talk about the university again, this was the fundamental stuff for me to say, okay, I've been learning this now for 2 3 years. I love it and I really want to pursue a career in it. So I'm gonna dig into it and just learn everything I need to learn. Because if I didn't have uni, I think I wouldn't know that I'm very passionate about concept art today, or after uni at least. So both was great for me. If
Yeah.
I would do it all again, I would go to a different school. I don't want to drag the school down now or say anything mean about it. I just want to say there are very very cool schools where you could specialize in it, because in Austria it's a, like I said, it's like this one education where you learn everything. But if I would do it again, I could probably go to new 3D. I don't know how
Yeah.
to pronounce them, but it's a very famous school in Paris, and you can learn concept art, like, like just 3 years of pure concept art from
Hmm.
the best teachers out there. I would definitely do something like that.
Yeah, for sure. And before I keep going, I just want to say hello to Danny and David who joined. Nice to see you all in here, and excited for you guys to learn some new things. And if you guys have questions, including Molly, please ask them in here. We'll make sure that we get those asked as well. And when you were at uni, what do you think was, like, what did you learn the most that separated from you as an artist before you went to uni? Like, how did you see your art change, and did it change for the better, or was it, like you said, just more so on the fundamentals? Would love to hear that input as well.
Actually, like I wasn't that much of an artist before. Like I didn't I drew a lot, but I didn't have um like as many drawings as I had while being in school in uni, of course. But um I would say uni really helped me not to improve in the first place, but to know what I'm doing. Like I didn't even know what you do to create a game. I didn't even know the steps that it takes. Like I didn't also know what a concept artist was actually for. I remember like one time I asked my teacher, it was in the very beginning, so don't judge. I was playing video games a lot, and I asked her, can you tell me, like, because there are so when you dive into ocean and you play like under the sea, like you're swimming, there are so many images, like so much stuff you see. Do you draw an image for everything you see in the ocean, like every frame the player sees? And she was laughing and she was like, no, you don't. As a concept artist, you have like one or two images where it shows off like how the ocean looks, and then 3D modelers and artists go in there and just build it based on your concept. So this helped me, just get an understanding, and it's very important to understand the industry and like the steps, especially for games, also for movies. But you know how like the pipeline works and where you are in the pipeline. So there was no progress in the beginning, but there was definitely progress in my paintings after graduating and focusing on my portfolio.
Yeah. And can you dive in a little bit more about those specific pipelines and why it is important to learn all those different types of, parts that go into game design itself?
Yeah, sure. So, especially as a concept artist, you're mostly in the pre production. So, before everything starts, like the name says, pre production, it's before the production even starts. So, client or a game studio comes to you and asks you, hey, we have this cool idea. We have, let's say you're an environment artist, because it's also very important that you specialize. Either you want to be a character or an environment artist for the big players, like for Ubisoft and all that stuff. You need to specialize in one. So if you would say you're an environment artist, they would come to you and say like, hey, we have this very cool idea of this city, and let's say there's Spider-Man in it, and Spider-Man flows like he's doing his thing, and we want this very big bridge, and it's kind of broken, and it's broken because of blah blah blah. Then you get the story from them, and because they have their words, they know what they want, but sometimes they don't know. That's also a thing as a concept artist. And then they would love you to visualize it. So that's pre-production, where you help them visualize their ideas and bring them to life in an image. So they could give it, then it goes into the production. So pre-production and production, they go like they're melting with each other sometimes. Like everything is kind of melting, but you are in a pre-production, or maybe at the end, more like the end of pre-production, it goes into the production. And then 3D artists, and technical artists, everyone who's like building all that stuff in an engine, everyone who's modeling or rigging stuff, they take your ideas and concepts and they start building it. And after that, then there is also, you could also work as a concept artist, more the illustration side. But if you go into post-production, that's happening after the main production is done. So now they're like doing bug fixes, they're doing the final lighting, they're like, or maybe they're baking stuff in the engine, they're making it look more final. And when they do that, they want to tease the game to the people. I'm talking only about game right now because film is a bit different. So what they do is they release artworks, but they wouldn't release artworks you've done in the pre-production, like not the rough concepts. You would maybe take an image from the pre-production, paint over it, make it look we say juicy, like make it look very juicy, and then post it on social media so people are like very hyped about the game. So yeah, actually, and that's what's called marketing production. Actually, you're a marketing artist who's doing all the illustrational stuff for them, but mostly you're in the pre-production of the
Yeah.
post.
Yeah, that makes sense. And as you were coming up as an artist, what were the biggest barriers that you faced, and how did you overcome them?
Whew. The biggest barriers were like in the beginning, it's very, very hard. I remember it so good because you start doing art and you're digging into that for hours and hours and hours. And first, there is family and friends. Maybe they're supportive and they understand you, but sometimes you also meet people who don't really understand why are you digging into that, because it's more like an artist job, and you have to tell them why you have to put so many hours into it to get better. So they don't really understand it. Sometimes it feels like they think it's only like, oh, you're drawing all the time, like, oh, it's drawing, but it's not. It's like you pour in your blood and your heart and your soul, and it takes hours and hours to learn that. um, so like getting over the phase where you're not, you're good, but you're not good enough for the industry yet. This is really, really hard because you have to accept it, and you have to like understand what's lagging in your projects and in your images to finally get better. And it's always like, it's still for me that thing that it's a plateau. So you work, 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 you go up, 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 but then suddenly it doesn't go up anymore. You feel like, okay, I'm producing art, I'm producing stuff, but it doesn't bring me any further right now. And this is the, like, I struggled a lot with this because I didn't know what to do. My art didn't get any better. So this is where I realized I need to talk to other artists or start taking mentorships, because this is where you learn a lot in just a few weeks, and people look over it and tell you your flaws. They tell you what you lack of, and you have the chance to work on it together with a mentor. It's really, really good.
Yeah, mentorship I think is one of the most important things in all fields, because they, one, humble you when you may feel like you are on
Yeah.
top of the world, which I think is very, very necessary. And two, they have been in whatever industry you're in for way longer than you, and they can help you with
Yeah,
how you should go about things.
exactly.
Not necessarily shortcuts, but tips that will help you learn faster or get to a destination faster if you go a certain route, and just simply help you be a better artist as well, or
Yeah,
a creator, which is
absolutely.
very, very important. And before we dive into more of that, Molly had a question, and she said, any advice on getting noticed?
Oh, yeah, that's also a big topic. I don't remember the name of the book, but when I was at zero, I read a book. Uh, I can look it up and send it to you later. I
Please
think
do.
it was something like how to get noticed as an artist, like a digital artist
Hmm.
in social media. So it was really focused on Instagram and all that stuff. Not even on ArtStation. I think it was only for Instagram. And I really loved the book because it really helped me understand. Right now, maybe it's outdated because Instagram changed a lot. They always change a lot. But it was basically, it was about like, without any engagement and without any active stuff you're doing. Like if you're quiet, drawing for yourself, posting maybe one image in 3 or 4 months, you won't get anywhere. You have to get yourself out there. Like if you're doing the social media part, you have to get yourself out there. You have to post frequently, and this also maybe means producing art and maybe keeping it for yourself just a few weeks, and then you can start posting them frequently. You know what I mean? So you produce them beforehand, and then you can post it. So it is frequently for Instagram. And yeah, that helped me a lot. And what also helped me a lot by then, I don't know if it's still that good, but it helped me back then when there are these art pages like like the garden. There are people who are posting others' art, and you can write to them. You can ask them if they could support you and post your image. Some people do it for free, some people charge for it. Back then, it was okay for me to pay, like, I think it was like $10 or something. It was not much, but it was okay for me because I got noticed a bit more. People would see my stuff, and it was okay because it's a business for them, you know. So yeah, this is what I did on social media. But besides that, it is so important to go to events. Like, there are a few events for concept artists. For example, just recently it was the Lightbox Expo. And yeah, so many other events you could choose. But there are artists, there are other artists, there are people from studios, you know, recruiters, there are art directors. Just don't be afraid. Go up to them, talk to them, show them your portfolio, and be like, hey, I'm here. Maybe you're not like, maybe you think about yourself you're not that good or not good enough, but it doesn't matter. It matters that people know that you're here and you're really, really trying to get better right now. This is what I did.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that, because you can make art or whatever you're creating in your room and sit in your bedroom just creating forever. And
Yeah.
yeah, social media does go far, but it's also the
Yes.
face value of someone seeing you, and that's where you can really network and
Yeah.
tap in with people that you never would have met if you would have never stepped outside of your room. And it
Exactly.
can be hard, it can be very uncomfortable, but they do say like you grow the most when you are uncomfortable. And maybe that's something that you can touch on. Has there been experiences that you've felt nervous going into or uncomfortable going into, but it turned out working for the best?
You mean on an event or something?
It can be both. It can be an event, or let's do both, an event as well as you're just something in your artist journey.
Like, yeah, okay. So for an event, I remember like being, for example, I was at the One Pixel Brush event. I don't know if you guys here know One Pixel Brush, but there was a get together where people just met, like from One Pixel Brush, the artists, but also like, external artists. And I remember there was this rooftop party where like the whole team from One Pixel Brush was there, and it was made for connecting. So you guys, like, everyone was supposed to go to them, tell them, hey, here am I, here's my portfolio, blah blah blah. And I was so nervous. I was so nervous. I remember I was standing in the corner first. I was like, I don't know, I can't do this. I can't do this. Like, I see those artists on the internet. Like, I've been looking at their work. Like, I've been loving their work. And I was so nervous to just talk to them. But I eventually got over it. I took a drink and then I was okay. I was like, okay, I'm going to go to them and talk to them. And it turned out that they were so nice and they helped me a lot. They told me that they told me what they like about my portfolio, and that I was totally ready for the industry, which helped me a lot. And but they also told me, like, but you need to like improve here and there. So what I did, I got home and I immediately worked on that to be better with that in my next image. And it really, really helped me because I learned so, like, I met so many new artists which are friends today as well. And a very funny story also, at this event I met one of my today colleagues, and good friend Yannick. And yeah, we became friends after this event. And one and a half year ago, before I worked for Character, he was like, they approached him first, Character, and they were like, we're really looking for one more artist, and it would be so nice if we find a girl, a female artist, because they also had only males in there, only boys. So he just dropped my name, and it it was just this event and the friendship that took me to get in there. If he didn't know me, then he couldn't ever say my name. So yeah, it was really, really helpful at
Yeah, and that's
that
a
point.
main example of how important networking is.
Yeah,
And
yes.
a lot of people say is like sometimes it matters about your skill, yes, but it is
Yes.
just as important, maybe even more, 100% more important sometimes, is
It's,
who you know and the
oh
networks
my
you
gosh,
make.
it's really, the network is like, of course, you need to know art and you need to know how to paint. That's the first thing you have to put a check mark on.
Hmm.
But the second thing is really you need to know people. If you don't know people, then I don't know. You can get in there, of course, but like it makes it so much easier if you just know some artists who are already in the industry and things like this, like a stream. I'm also open for people, like if people reach out and say, hey, I really, really need your advice, or can you just look at this image? I mean, I don't have a lot of time, but when I do find the time, I help them. And yeah.
Yeah, and please like take what she's saying and apply it. If you truly are a concept artist or a digital artist just looking for advice, she's literally saying reach out to her. Obviously, she won't probably have time to just respond every single
Yeah.
second, but when she does, I think that's, you guys should definitely take
Yes.
full advantage of it. And this is exactly what we're talking about. If you don't participate in some events or go to events, like, you won't end up having this exact opportunity. And I before we go into, like, I kind of want to talk more about like your process as a concept artist and things like that. I also want to give you the space to like talk about some of your accomplishments as well, so they can like hear about you like working at studios and all that type of stuff. So go ahead and
Um,
talk about yourself.
yeah. It just talk about yourself. It's so sad because like many artists can relate, working in the game industry also means like a lot of NDA. So I unfortunately I can't talk about any titles yet,
Mhm.
like nothing. Like since I've been in the industry working for people, the only thing I can mention was that I worked for Skull and Bones for Ubisoft, but it was a very small gig and it was in the post. It was marketing stuff. It was actually, I worked for an outsourced studio called Volta. They work for Ubisoft. And everything else, unfortunately, is under
Fair,
NDA.
fair.
It's so sad.
No, it's
It's
okay.
so
It's okay.
sad,
I
really.
rather you keep your job than you just out it all. So
Yeah, yeah. You
yeah.
know how they sue me, and I'm not sure. Maybe also one of the art directors is in here
Yeah,
right now, so I'm
exactly. You
gonna keep
never
my
know.
mouth
Yeah, yeah,
shut.
yeah. I promise.
Yeah.
Listen, she didn't say anything.
No.
Okay. So what was like when you finally got into a studio and working with like these people that you've always looked up to? What was that feeling like? And what was the biggest thing that you learned being around similar artists with like similar goal and direction as well?
So I actually, my first really experienced work with bigger artists was at Character, and I am really, really deeply thankful for that because they managed to have freelance artists, but it feels like you're in this together. Even though they have different projects going on, you still can talk to the artists from the other projects. And working with a team full of really, really talented artists was a joy for me because every day, like producing an image, looking at what they did, also opening their files, 3D files and all that stuff, learning how they did it. It had such a value for me. I learned a ton. Like in this 1 year at Character, I probably learned 5 times more than I did in my whole journey so far. It brought me to a point where I could say that I've been there now. I work with them. I still need to improve a lot, but it got me to a more professional level, which I'm so thankful for. Also, like having a art director, like they have several art directors, but especially the one I was working with, he taught me so much, and he was very patient with me and with the other artists, telling me exactly what I'm lacking at again. And yeah, I knew that he's a great artist. I knew that all the others are so much better than I am. But in the beginning, it was hard for me to like look at that and not be depressed, you know, like because I was like, I always had this imposter syndrome. I think every artist has that. It doesn't matter if you're in music or in somewhere else. Um, I always had the feeling, what am I doing here? I don't belong here because there are people who are so much better than I am. But it really taught me that every artist has their flaws. Every artist has their insecurities. But instead of looking at them like, why can't I be like them? You should look at them like, oh, he or she can do this way better than I can. Maybe I should talk to this artist and ask, how do I get there? So talking and asking again.
Okay. Yes.
Again.
I'm really glad you're harping on those 2 points. So the first one of talking with people and networking with people, because that is, like we said, one of the most important things, if not the most important thing. But also, I'm really happy you talked about, right when I said that, someone typed in, I have imposter syndrome. But the imposter syndrome, because every person we talk to and bring on the stream, even no matter where they are as like artists in the studio, like studios, just other freelance artists, like no matter where they are in their career, they
like
always
writer,
exactly, no matter what,
everyone
talks about
everyone.
imposter syndrome and how they still deal with it. And even if it's not something they deal with on a daily basis, it's something that still comes back. And it just, I really want everyone in here to understand that that is normal. It is normal to feel that way sometimes when you are in spaces with other people you may deem as like better than you, or they deserve to be here more than you. They're honestly probably thinking the same thing, when they look at you, and once you realize that everyone is kind of in that same boat, it becomes a little easier, and it becomes easier to understand as well. And once again, if anyone has any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. I saw Eredimi, you had some questions, but I think we kind of answered those a little bit before. So if you want to go back after the stream is done and watch some of them, I think they will be helpful. Unless you see something in here, Nina, that I may have missed, but
I can just regarding the imposter syndrome again, how to overcome it. Like I said, if you talk to the artist, maybe, but if you're, I don't know, if you're too afraid or anything, what helps me, because I still have the imposter syndrome, I still feel it with every project I do. What I do is, like, what helped me the most recently is I try to turn off the voices in my head while creating, because I look up the references, what I need for the project, but I also try not to look too much at other people's work at that time. I try to maybe also get inspired by real world stuff, like looking at sculptures, like the real sculptures, or maybe looking at architecture from outside. And just try to create, just be yourself and do your art. Don't think of what are people gonna say, what if this image is worse than my last, and people will be like, oh, she's not that good. You don't have to, like, I know those voices in your head. So try to turn them off, do your art, and when you're done, try to get feedback in, like send it to an artist, the artist you admire, the artist where you get the imposter syndrome maybe. Tell him or her, hey, I did this, please, because you were a big inspiration, can you look at it and just tell me if, like, what do I need to get closer to your results, or your type of style, because you don't want to copy artists, but you want to maybe get close to a certain style. So yeah, this is how I deal with it.
Yeah, I think that's great advice still. And you talked about the whole comparison part, so I would like to go on that maybe a little bit and maybe talk about how comparison is the thief of joy when you are a creator. And often, especially when it comes to social media, it's so easy for us to just like look at someone's work and not think, we are where we need to be, especially when it comes to not necessarily how good they are, but where they are in life. And that's something you kind of see in social media as well, as you may depict someone is where they may not actually be, and that might like discourage you from continuing to create. So maybe can you talk about like how you have used social media and maybe filtered out those I guess negative thoughts and
Yeah. Yeah.
energy.
It's a hard one still for me. I actually, that, like, this rabbit hole you're talking about actually happens a lot to me when I doom scroll a lot. Like when I'm on Instagram and I'm like scrolling or looking at all the stories all the time, because you get into this rabbit hole where you see other artists. Maybe you look at the artist, like this artist tags another artist, so you look at that artist, then you go over their portfolio, then you go over their work experience, and you're like, god damn it, this dude is like 22 and has like more work experience than I could ever have. So how does he do that? Yeah, this is where the rabbit hole happens, and it's very hard to get out there. So what I try, like, sometimes I fail at this too, but I try to catch myself, or also my husband sees that when I start to doom scroll, because it's not healthy at all. And like a very good habit I don't have it in me now. I try to build it right now, this habit, but every time I'm on Instagram and I realize I'm not on Instagram because I need to reply or anything, or maybe make a story, I stop myself and I'm like, I go to Pinterest right now. It's a different rabbit hole. It's also a rabbit hole, but it's a different. So
Yeah.
if you're on the need of like getting soaked into a rabbit hole, go into the Pinterest rabbit hole, because you find references in there, you find photos in there, you can make you pin it on your board, and you maybe find references for your next project. It's a positive rabbit hole. It gets you all hyped up for a new project, and not the other rabbit hole of Instagram. So,
Yeah, someone said doom scrolling is my worst enemy.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel that for sure. Um,
Yes.
and can you talk a little bit about your process as a concept artist? Like what exactly the day-to-day entails, but also the exact process of work from start to finished. And feel free to get as detailed as you want to.
How much time do we have tomorrow? Oh my gosh, don't say that. We would all need to do a mentorship
Yeah,
to
I'm
get me
saying.
detailed
I'm
into
saying.
um yeah, it really depends. Maybe, well, if we could talk about my private project now, because
Perfect.
right now I'm building my portfolio. So if I go into my private project, I have way more time to go into all those programs and
For
like
sure.
think of ways how to do it. So
Do you want to
from
talk about
yeah.
the ones you sent me? Is that the ones you're talking about?
No, yeah, the latest, the creature one with the mask on it, I posted it on Instagram as well.
Hold on, let me
There are just sketches.
Okay.
There is no final artwork yet.
Yeah.
So
1 second, let me bring that up. But yeah, you can continue talking about it. I'll bring it up on the screen.
Yeah, sure. So for that one, I wanted to create something spooky, Halloweenish style. So I went in there and you can't see it right now.
Yeah, 1 second.
Yeah, I don't have it here, But I first started to build it's the one on
This one,
the,
right?
yeah,
Okay.
right. Before I created the character, you can see that right now I started creating an environment for it. So I created a forest, and it's a pretty dark forest. And to dig into the first chapter, which is super important. And my art director told me that what makes a good artist, and it's like it's everything for me right now, is the references he or she uses. And it's true, because people who are new in the industry, people who are maybe not that good, or not that professional, let's say it that way, um, they use maybe 5 to 10 references, and they use maybe also references that everyone has seen before. So what really makes your artwork um, good in the end is the references you look up in the first place. So I usually spend at least 1 or 2 full days of just looking at references. I think you can see it on the last page on Instagram here.
This one?
Yeah, it's just a crop. Yeah, it's just a crop. But I try to go into like many rabbit holes again, like of maybe in this case it was like Japanese masks, or one that I was very inspired of here was the Kin Fables. It's a video I found on the internet. It's very expressional music video, I think, or music video that also tells a story. Um, and I also dived very deep into all that sculpture you could do, like those handcrafted sculpture people do with fabrics, wood, and all that stuff. So I really try to find references that people haven't maybe used before, or I haven't seen on the internet before. And then I started just bashing all the characters. Like first I did the scene in Blender, the environment scene, and but I didn't show it yet on social media. And while I was building the scene, I was like, hey, I need the characters for it first. So like to get more into details in the forest, I need the characters as well. So I was imagining this one creepy dude standing in the forest, like watching the camera, and like something that just creeps you out. So I was looking, and that's the next thing. I was going over to Shot Deck. Shot Deck is a I can I write it in the chat for the people?
Yeah,
I can, right?
for sure. And someone
It's
said one day. Yeah, that you spend just looking for references. That is
yeah,
insane.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like actually at work at Character, we get two full work days if we have enough time for the image.
Yeah.
And it's or the thing we're creating, like maybe it's more images based on one topic. We got 1 or 2 full days, like 8-hour days, where you just look at references.
Wow.
And it's necessary. It's really necessary. I can't stress this enough. To get like very good results with your project, I promise you that your outcome will be different to all the other artists out there if you just spend enough time to look up very cool references. And yeah, then I look up Shot Deck. Shot Deck is a page where you could find all the movies out, like not all the movies, but very like a lot of movies out there. You can find screenshots from it.
I've used this site before. I have used this site before. Yes.
Yeah, it's very intuitive. So you could right now, unfortunately, you're not logged in, but usually you could just look up a word. Let's say you type in forest, and then or you type in dark forest, and then it spits you out all the images from different movies and series of like cinematic movies, cinematic images. So you get very inspired by composition, lighting. This is where I get really inspired how I will light my scene. Maybe I can hold on. Is it possible to or maybe I can also send a screenshot?
Yeah, you
very
can
quick?
yeah, if you want,
Yeah.
you can share your screen too if you like, and I can put it up there.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
just I typed in because I knew I had an account, but it says your access has expired. So I
Oh
definitely am not paying
no.
for it right now.
Yeah. I will just look maybe I will share my PureRef just real quick,
Okay.
and then I stop. Um, because I'm always because I'm like I don't have anything on my PC, but
Yeah.
because of all the NDA stuff,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
always so
Please, yes,
scared
please
if
make
people
sure.
see
Please make sure,
anything.
because I will end the stream immediately if someone talks about.
No, there's nothing here,
Okay,
but I'm
okay.
just paranoid when
And
it comes
then
to this.
while you're looking that up, someone asked, what kind of restraints slash routines do you set for yourself to get projects and goals done?
Um, if like you mean like deadlines or
Yeah, I guess and maybe how you plan your day, or are you strict with your day? Like, okay, I'm from
yeah
2 to 5, I'll be doing this, and
yes.
like.
I mean, it helps a lot being a mom because I have to like bring my son to the kindergarten something before 9 in the morning, and I have to pick him up again at between 4 and 5. So I know that I can only work in that time frame, like very concentrated. And I usually like I didn't have this before, but my husband has a studio here in Vienna, and they have an office with like a few artists, and it's more like a corporate office where people could join them and we all work together, even though we're not in the same company. So I use that and I go with him to the office. Yeah, not every day in the week, but some days I go with him, I sit down there, and it's more like it feels like a job, because even though I'm not working for a client right now, it feels like, okay, I'm here, I can't do anything. I mean, I can sit on my phone, but it's a waste of time. So I sit down and I'm on my PC and I'm like, okay, for the next 5 to 6 hours I'm gonna work straight. And in the lunchtime I have lunch with other artists, which is very cool. But when I'm at home, it's a bit more difficult. I understand that. But I sit down and I'm like, okay, I have those few hours. I will sit down now and I will work on it. And sometimes, like, it doesn't happen every day, but I'm pretty passionate when it comes to my private projects. I
Mhm.
want to be like, I want to finish them. So I usually, when I put my son back to sleep at 8 o'clock, I go back to my PC and I work again till, let's say, 11 or
Oh,
something.
nice, nice.
And I'm fortunate because my husband is working in the same industry, so we're both fine with that. We're both happy if we can work on our stuff, and we feel very satisfied after working on our project.
Yeah.
So we're both super fine with it. I get it if people are in relationships where it is not possible like that. I know artists that don't do that, but I also know like most of the artists I know, they work at night.
Mhm.
Yeah, just try to. I always, what also helps me, I always envision in my brain is I'm so excited to show this project to everyone else. I'm so excited to
Yeah.
post it because I want to share it with the world. I want
Uh-huh.
to get the feedback in. I want to, like, this is what keeps me going. This is
Uh-huh.
where I'm like, yeah, I want to work on it. I want to finish it. And also, sometimes I have the other project in mind already. So I'm like, I want to finish it so I can
To move
do the
on.
next
Yeah,
project.
yeah, 100% agree.
Okay, I can maybe just very quickly show it's not the full reference
Okay.
board. I have another one as well, but I'm just gonna show this one
Okay,
for
awesome.
now. Hold on, let me.
And
Oh, there you go.
Darula, you did ask if she does use media mashing during that process, and you kind of explained that you did as well. So, right when you,
What?
you
What again?
they asked if you do like media mashing, I believe, when you are through your creative process and doing references. But you were talking about how you do bash
Yeah,
images together. Yeah.
I bash images together a lot. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
So do you see it?
I see it. I'm going to put it up in a second, but
Okay.
you can start talking about it. It's okay.
Okay, so like this time I actually started. This is old. Let's delete that. Sorry for maybe like typos or anything.
No, you're good.
I'm
You're
German, so
good. You're
sometimes I
good.
just write it down. Yeah, this time I think I was inspired by this dude in the first place, who did this vampire series, and I was like, oh, I really want to create something very cinematic and very moody and dark. It's funny, I really, really love all that moody, dark stuff. So
Is that your favorite?
it's so funny because I can't look at all. Let me just pull up the window on the right. I can't look at all at any horror films. I can't watch any movie that's brutalistic, like not brutalistic, that's brutal or like with a lot of blood. I can't do it, but I can. I love creating
Making
dark,
it. That's so.
like making it. Like I love creating that stuff. I don't want to look at it, and also if I for reference, if I have to watch references for my project, I also don't watch the movie because I don't want to get the emotions. I just go over to shot deck, like here, and get the screenshots and look what I'm gonna go for. So yeah, it's kind of weird, but I love to do all that darkish moody stuff. So
for sure, and they can see now as well. So
yeah, awesome. So yeah, I was starting with those two, and I was looking up some images, mainly on Pinterest. Some I have from ArtStation, where I was like, I like the style. I'd like to get inspired from it right now. First, I had a very different idea, but I went away during the process. I was starting. Then after that, I went to Shop Deck. As I said, these are not the full references, but you could say those are my key references. And I looked up some very dark, foresty images that capture the feeling I want to have, like this very creepy. You wouldn't want to be there. You wouldn't want to go there, actually. And if someone like would be staring at you from behind there, you like would be pretty creeped out. So I was also looking at close-ups. Like this is a very, very good reference I found. And usually as a concept artist, it is like maybe no one talks about it a lot, but don't be afraid to don't copy, but don't be afraid to stay close to references. Because if I would build a scene right now, I would look at this and I would build it with my character, with my scene, with my assets. I wouldn't copy it. I wouldn't go over and cut things out here and copy it. I would build it like I would build it, but I would stay to my reference. And also a very good, like looking at concepts in general. It doesn't matter if it's a character concept or an environment concept or an illustration. If you go in there and you take 3 references, that's also my main approach on images. For example, for this one, those were my 3 references. I bashed them together. And usually what I do is I take 2 references that are quite similar to each other. Let's say if we would have a forest, like I don't mind the character right now. We have a forest, we have the trees. Maybe we have, let's say, muddy stuff on the ground, or maybe water. So those are my 2 references that I take. And then I take something, I have it on my Gumroad as well as a very good explanation as a PDF. Then I take something that's called the twist. So you take something that you wouldn't combine, like for example, the twist couldn't be a grass, or the twist can't be let's say sticks or anything. The twist has to be something you wouldn't expect in there. So in this case you could actually say it's the character, because the character is like super off, and you've, or what else you could take is maybe you would sculpt this into the tree, and this would be a focal point. So you take something that's completely off and different, people are like, huh? So, or if I would go in there, take the tree and the mud, and as a twist I take a strawberry. Where do I put the strawberry? Well, maybe it's a texture of the tree. And believe me, it will look good if you like know how to, or if you have the feeling like, okay, this, like, don't just bash a strawberry in
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
That's not good. But
And
just make it look good, you know. But
for
it would
sure.
be different and it would be fresh for the people if they see it.
Yeah, Hypercrystallized says the time on reference hunting is really interesting to me. I feel like it's shed a new light for me, and I want to spend more time looking for references for my own project now. So yeah, thank you for
Yeah,
inspiring them.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for listening.
And then it's Darulu had I guess like another take on it. They said I agree with using references as a visual for inspiration, but it depends how original you want your artwork. Your artwork will be in the end. Concept art is more built from imagination, in my opinion. What's your thoughts on that? And is that something you've dealt with in the past with yourself? Of like, oh, I don't want to use references because I feel like it won't be original. And how did
Yeah,
that
yeah.
mindset change
Yes.
you as an artist?
You have this in the beginning. I totally agree. You have this in the beginning, but I'm sorry, I absolutely have to disagree here because I can tell you that people who are trying to do it purely from imagination, they like, it won't work. It's like the worst thing you could do as a concept artist, because if you're, even if you would do stylized, even if you would do something that's very abstract, you always have to pick stuff from the real world. You have to be inspired by the real world and make it surreal or abstract then. So if you do something, maybe it's, I don't talk about fine arts right now. I really talk about concept art like games and movies. And for games and movies, we always take the real world and build something out of it. So you have to have the references. And if you have the references, your main reference, and you want to stick to it, or you don't want to stick to it, let's say you don't want to stick to that, just use it for the base. For example, I don't have it right now, but for my architecture piece I did, I also took, like, I took so many references from brutalistic. Hold on, maybe I could take it.
Yeah, I think that's definitely. I feel like an opinion that a lot of people have when they doing concept art in the start, but from what I've seen in the artists I've talked to that work at studios, they always say references are key, because
Yeah,
with the references you're able to like truly build what you want to build, but in a way that is, still like you're taking from something, but not
exactly.
taking from something in a bad way. You're taking
Yeah,
inspiration from something
yeah,
to then
yeah.
create your own,
Yeah, yeah, you don't, that's why, that's also important, like what I've, like what people teach me at Character, that's why I mentioned it right now. And I'm going to, like, I can't announce everything now, but I will be teaching very soon online, where I want to tell people that don't take one references. For example, like, don't take what can I say, like this image, don't take just this image and just be like, this is my references, I'm gonna build from it. You don't do that, because first of all, this, like, another artist did that. You shouldn't do that. You should pick, like, for example, what if we pick this reference, and then we pick this one because an artist did that, and then we pick this one. You can make a completely new image out of those three. You have a forest, but you don't have this strange looking trees, because this is what this artist did and it's very cool, and you shouldn't steal that. Maybe you have your vertical trees, you have this muddy thing, and then you take inspiration from this, this very cool color, watery, maybe the people who are in there have it on their skin, and maybe it's also steam in there, and
Mm-hmm.
you create a new piece. So it's nothing bad to take references, and
Yeah,
you should not ever delete this from your process. You should do it before
for
you
sure.
draw.
For sure. And Emiria said, I agree with the reference thing. My art 1,000% improves whenever I use them.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. You're so allowed to do it. You're expected to do it, actually. At a
For sure.
job, if you don't do it, like, the art director is gonna be mad at you.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say as well. I feel
Because,
like the art
yeah.
director is definitely like expect you to
The
use it.
first, the first thing, really, almost every time, and I would love to see his face right now if he would watch it. But from my art director at my last position, like when he looked at my image, like let's say I did a fresh image for him. He looked at it the morning after that, and he's like, first thing, what are your references? First
Really?
thing, like
Wow.
he
Wow.
doesn't even say it's good,
Good.
it's bad,
Yeah. Yeah.
I like it, I don't like it. The first thing is, what are your references? Because if you don't show them the references, also people might not understand it in the first place. Like the
Makes sense.
client, the art director, they needed to understand what you're doing, because sometimes you also, if you only have a few hours for an image, you also maybe can't show what you mean with the bark or anything. And if you have an image next to it, that's why I also on Instagram with the character, that's why I also have the reference right next to it, because people understand it. People understand if you look at this, you wouldn't probably know what the material is and what the
Yeah.
mask is.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, it's
It-
creepy and it has holes in it and
yeah.
it looks
Yeah.
like a mask. But if you see this, you're like, oh, it's carved. So this
Hmm.
dude might carve his masks out of wood, and then and also with the fact, maybe if you see this, you're like, what the heck is
Yeah.
that? Is
Yeah.
it like fabric or what is it? With this next to it, you see it's feathers.
Hmm.
So it really, you need to also do it to explain yourself.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Hypercrystallized then went on to say multiple references are so awesome. You can use a pose for one reference, the lighting from another, and
Yeah,
a subject from a third. Which is yeah, kind of it's cool. It's like you're taking all these
exactly.
inspirations and making your
Yeah,
own thing from them. So I 100% agree with you.
that's what I
Um,
do. Yeah.
yeah, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, so I will only ask you a few more questions. But one of the last ones I wanted to ask is, what is your main advice to up and coming artists?
Oh man, that's so hard. Um, yeah, it, hmm. My main advice would be, first, like, I don't want to talk about this topic right now, so please don't hang me up on that right now. But don't be afraid about AI. Like, still create your stuff
Uh-huh.
and use it or don't use it. It's your business, it's your deal. You can do whatever you want, and I won't share my opinion on AI. But I can, like, as a recommendation, let's say, Mm, if you want to succeed, especially as a concept artist, those days the AI will get better eventually. Maybe we have laws for that, maybe we don't. But focus on design. Like, don't try to get the fundamentals, of course, and all that stuff, but try to improve your design skills, because for designing it will probably take a very long time, or maybe it won't happen at all in the next years and decades, because like the AI takes the design process, because to design you always need the human behind it, like the human brain who understands, maybe who can communicate also, like who is the thing in between, and uses maybe the AI or doesn't use the AI, you don't know. But if you are a purely an illustrator who's doing good images, which is great, but you might be replaced sooner or later. I don't say this is like carved into stone, so don't take it too seriously, but just as a small advice for you to maybe
Yeah.
learn a bit more design, and don't be how do you say, don't be discouraged, like looking at other stuff and other people. Really try to see it as your motivation and keep on going, because I can all tell you, we all started at zero and we all had to go through this whole process to be where we are today. And as long as you keep going and you keep doing that stuff, you're gonna get better, and you're gonna land that job, or you're gonna make a living out of that.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And that was actually the second question I was going to ask, was which exactly you talked about in the last question. And I just want to say thank you so much for taking your time out
Thank
to
you.
do this interview. We really, really appreciate it and love when creatives like you at your caliber are able to give back to the community, yeah, it definitely means a lot to us. And I know everyone who's watching this now and who will watch it once it's posted will enjoy it a lot. So thank you so much again. And thank you to everyone who joined. And we look forward to seeing you guys more in the future. So I hope you all
Yeah.
have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you all later.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.